Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be listening. Tonight, I undertake a curious endeavor to review a timeless film. Tonight, we step back. Tonight, that's right, we step back. Not merely in years, no, but in feeling, but in rhythm, and in sensibility. We journey to the year 1934, a time when cinema was still discovering its voice. And yet, remarkably, already saying so much. The world was dusting itself off from the hardships of the Great Depression. The silver screen, meanwhile, offered not merely escape, but wit, charm, and a peculiar kind of truth wrapped in laughter and longing. The film under consideration this evening is It Happened One Night, directed by the inimitable Frank Capra and starring Clark Gable and Claudette Colbert. Two performers whose presence alone could carry a picture. And yet here, folks, they elevate one another. They elevate one another in ways that still echo through the decades. This, folks, is not merely a romantic comedy. It is, in many ways, the template from which so many others would be drawn. And yet, for all its influence, there remains something fresh and something startlingly human in its delivery. And so, folks, before I speak on its finer points, allow me to say, it is quite remarkable that It Happened One Night was produced during the decade of the 1930s. And yet it continues to endure. It continues to uplift all these years later. It survives. It survives with vigor. This motion picture, it proved to be a veritable revolution within the realm of romantic comedies. And furthermore, it played an instrumental role in shaping the archetype of what has since become known as the quintessential road trip, romance, or the screwball comedy genre. Now, folks, permit me to enumerate a few particulars which render this film especially extraordinary. Okay, so firstly, the film, it distinguished itself as one of the inaugural productions to secure all 5 of the most prestigious Academy Awards, namely the Best Picture, the Best Director, awarded to the esteemed Frank Capra, Best Actor, bestowed upon the incomparable Clark Gable, Best Actress, awarded to the luminous Claudette Colbert, and Best Screenplay, Such an accomplishment remains exceedingly rare to this day. Now, of particular note here is the anecdote that the portrayal of Mr. Gable of a gentleman who eschewed the wearing of an undershirt in a certain scene purportedly precipitated a considerable decline in undershirt sales throughout the nation. Now, it is likewise recorded that Miss Claudette Colbert harbored grave doubts regarding the film's prospects, having allegedly remarked, "I have just completed the most lamentable picture in existence." Yet, Providence favored her, as she was subsequently honored with an Academy Award for her performance. One is oft inclined to overlook how remarkably ahead of its era this picture was, particularly with regard to its brisk pacing, palpable on-screen chemistry, and sharp wit. Now I must say, I have presently arrived at approximately the 40th minute of the picture, and I must say the performance during the scene wherein the detectives make their entrance is nothing short of exceptional. It strikes a most curious balance. The dramatic tension is executed with great finesse, and yet it carries a certain levity, even a quiet humor that is both intentional and unforced. One scarcely feels that the players are performing in the traditional sense. Rather, it seems they are revealing some truth veiled in theatrical form. Their expressions do not bear the stiffness or artifice, but rather the texture of genuine feeling, momentarily clothed in character. It is, as it were, life masquerading as performance, a subtle triumph rarely achieved in moving pictures. Now, folks, a question surfaces, not asked so much as remembered. It reads, "Pray, are the melodies sung aboard the bus those which would have been commonly known and cheerfully rendered by the travelling public of the 1930s? I wonder whether such tunes, spontaneous and unadorned as they are, reflect the popular repertoire of the day. Songs whistled in kitchens, hummed along rural roads and shared between strangers, not yet divided by the noise of modernity." And so, folks, in response to the inquiry now before us, well, I offer the following. Well, indeed, the melody that erupts so cheerfully aboard the bus, the daring young man on the flying trapeze, is no mere cinematic flourish. It is, in fact, a bona fide tune of the 19th century origin, first composed circa 1867 by the English entertainer George Laybourne. Over the decades, it survived the passing fads and fashion, lingering in the popular imagination through the enduring circuits of vaudeville, touring theatricals, and the wide domestic circulation of sheet music. By the time It Happened One Night, the film, graced the silver screen in 1934, the song had already achieved a kind of folk immortality, well worn but cherished, like a favorite overcoat bearing the scent of many winters. Its inclusion in the film is not merely appropriate, it is, one might say, emblematic. Well, the sing-along serves a dual function, deftly executed. First, it establishes a sense of spontaneous unity among the bus passengers. Strangers by birth, but kin by circumstance, in the midst of economic hardship, such a moment of collective levity offers a fleeting yet potent utopia. Film scholar J.B. Kaufman aptly describes it as a utopian space in which everyone is an equal member of a joyous and sharing community. That bus, in its brief songful moment, becomes a traveling dream of democracy. Second now, folks, the scene appears to have rekindled the tune's popularity for a new generation. In the wake of the film's release, the song found renewed favor in cinema, cartoons and variety shows. Its cheerful refrain carried on the wind of nostalgia. And thus, one may conclude, with confidence, the passengers, and indeed Mr. Gable and Miss Colbert, were not singing an anachronism. They were invoking a melody that still resided in the public heart. To the 1930s audiences, the tune was a familiar friend, not a curiosity. Its appearance was less a performance and more a nod to shared cultural memory. Bonus note for the observant ear. Some whispers within studio lore suggest that director Frank Capra himself may have lent his voice to the chorus, disguised among the common passengers. While this remains a point of contention among historians, it is a charming possibility, one in keeping with Capra's warm investment in the world he crafted. In the fullness of time, our examination shall continue. I invite you, most cordially, to join me for part 2, soon to follow. We have touched only the surface. In part 2, we shall venture deeper into what this film reveals. Until then, folks, take care and God bless you.